Hello, Kano. Hello, G. How are we?
Oh, we're good. Are you all right?
Great.
Oh, great.
I was over in Kane's neck of the woods for a couple of days
Did you
over
enjoy
there.
that?
Sensational.
Yeah.
It didn't go last year, went this year, and I'll be going every year,
What's it like
every
most
year
about it?
afterwards. It's actually quite a nice town, Adelaide. I've only really popped in there just for a quick little work trip here and there, but to actually spend a couple of days over there was actually it was actually quite good. Being able to walk around in shorts and t-shirt in April was superb. So
You're proud of your old town, Kane?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I said that to Peter Malinauskas. He came on
Yeah.
the Sunday Footy Show. He's the hero of the moment, but
Yeah.
it was on full display. I mean, we've been really lucky with the weather 2 years in a row, so that makes a huge difference. But yeah, I think they just do a good job of putting events on, and I hardly heard a negative thing about it from anyone that was here. The only negatives probably came from people that weren't here. I think Bormy wrote a pretty scathing piece in the Age today or yesterday that I read. And look, he writes an excellent column, and I really admire anyone having a crack and having an opinion. But I think he's got to come to experience. Then he may have a different view. But Hoyne, let's talk some footy, because we've got a month of footy under our belt, and I guess that is good for you because it's more data, and you want to start with your top 10 players.
Yeah, so we'll start with our top 10 like we did last year in every 4-week block, and now we're there for every team.
Okay.
Some teams have played 5 matches, but we needed to just hold the line and until the whole competition had played at least 4. So just like last year, our new rating system, the 100x rating system, which just purely is just measuring the amount of impact that you're having on performances, regardless of what position that you're playing. So this is the rating system where we're able to compare the competition against the competition for the first time and actually doing it properly. So we can compare Jeremy McGovern to Marcus Bontempelli and who's actually having more impact on the competition. So
it's actually how much improved or how less you are than the average of that position.
correct.
Okay. Can you give us a top 10 of the old system as well?
I can.
I know you don't want to confuse anybody, but let's just...
No, we'll start with this system first and foremost. So we'll go to the 100x. So we're going to start with number 1, and number 1 is pretty obvious. It's Isaac Heaney. Yep. So he's had the best start to a season that we've seen from any player in 15 years. So the rating system has been in place since 2010, and we have not seen a player hit the ground running and perform as well as Isaac Heaney has after 5 matches. So
where's he gathering most of his points from?
Everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not.
Contest,
so his ball winning ability, his ball use, his ability to be able to impact the game in the forward half, through limited minutes is off the charts, and his midfield work has been superb. So he is clearly the best player in the competition at the moment. You would have thought he would be miles ahead of the Brownlow at the moment as well. Last year in this rating system, he was the 47th best player. So he's risen quite significantly. So now we get to the fun. Isaac Heaney was the obvious. So from here, I mentioned this bloke last week, and again, he had a solid performance against Collingwood on Sunday night. He's James Worpel. So what might surprise James Worpel in his rating is that he has had the second most impact with ball in hand of any player in the competition this year. So last year on the 100x, he was 64th. This year, so far, he's second. Whether or not he stays there or not, who knows? But 4 games in, he's absolutely flying. Marcus Bontempelli comes in third. Pretty boring again.
Just lock him in every year.
Lock him in every year. He was third last year. I think he's been top 10 or top 5 in 6 out of the last 7 years. So, but probably surprising with Bont, and the Worpel one is probably the opposite. So Worpel's ball use is through the roof.
Yep.
Bontempelli's ball winning ability is second in the competition.
Yep.
The impact that he's having in that aspect of the game is second. So that's where he's getting the majority of his impact. Christian Petracca comes in number 4. He was number 8 last year. He's 4th so far this year. And the improvement in his game is that he's got both sides of the ball. So, both sides of the game actually ticked off. His ball winning ability and his ball use is both top 25 in the competition. Nick Blakey, I reckon he might be one that we're probably going to get a little bit bored of over the next couple of years. He was 5th last year and already number 5 this year. Again, it's what he does with ball in hand that separates him. Kieran Briggs came in at 15th last year. He's now 6th to start the season. So his ball winning ability across the competition is actually rated number 11 in the comp. So that's up there with some of the best midfielders as well. So that's what, we sort of spoke about him a couple of weeks ago, and, the importance of ruckmen outside of their ruck work to get involved around the ground. That's what sort of separated, Max Gawn in particular over the last couple of seasons.
So he's in front of Max Gawn, which would surprise a few.
Yeah, he's in front of Max at the moment. Max has had 2 monstrous games, and then he's had 2 games where he hasn't really needed to.
The first one he was crooking.
Yeah, and he hasn't really needed to impact the game in there. This is probably going to come as the biggest surprise, and the biggest surprise is William Drew, who's come in at number 7, and I reckon. Rosie and Butters and Horn Francis, and rightly so, they get the recognition because they're easy on the eye, they're powerful with ball in hand, they impact games significantly well as well, and they're all going really well as well. So not downplaying what they're doing, but I think this guy is probably at the moment, I think he's probably the most rounded player in the competition. So his ball use is 12th in the comp. His ability to impact the game through his ball winning ability is 33rd. And then his defensive actions are top 10 as well. There's no other player in the competition that has that sort of profile at the moment.
Define defensive actions.
So his pressure, his ability to lay effective tackles on the opposition, get back, those smothers, spoils, all those stuff that's sort of the nitty gritty, if you like, is top 10 in the competition. So I think he's so significant to what Port Adelaide are going to be able to do moving forward throughout the rest of the season, just to balance up that midfield. For comparison, if you like, he was 226th last year. So massive season so far for William Drew.
Who'd be in front of Port Adelaide's B&F, Kane? Drew would have to be close.
He'd be right up there. Rosie would be up there.
Butters will still be up there. I mean, Butters he's had a good year as well. But I think I'll be interested to see what it's like come B&F night. Yeah, no, Houston's up there as well. I'll be interested to see what it comes B&F night because no doubt players like this get recognised significantly by the coaches just with what they're able to do and what they're able to allow their absolute superstars to do. So number 8, and again, another boring one, Dan Houston still comes in number 8. So he was second last year in the comp, number 8 this year. His ball use is what separates him apart. Just such a dynamic, ball user.
So this, Kane, goes back to your opening remarks, essentially, or close to opening remarks. Port Adelaide are so in the hunt at the present time. They've got 3 of the great young midfielders. And they've got Drew as a midfielder who is also a bit of a cooling agent when he needs to be and in great form. Dan Houston is one of the great half-back flankers. They've got another couple of half-back flankers going well. They've got a couple of half-forward flankers that are locking down and still kicking goals. They are really well set at the present time and probably underrated by still a lot.
Well, that's it. And they've got a competitive ruckman who got coaches' votes again on the weekend. He's not your polished ruckman, but he's a competitor and he's servicing the midfield fine. And they've actually got some key defenders above 6'2" for the first time in a couple of years.
One can only get better with exposure.
Yeah, and Zerk Thatcher surprised me. I was like, please don't recruit Zerk Thatcher. I don't know if he's competitive enough, but history would say so far he's hardly been beaten and he's been excellent. And then, so what I would love to have heard from Koshy when he was asked about this succession plan, he was a bit vague around it. He didn't say that there was any guarantee from board level. He should have just said, Kenny's our coach until the day we decide he's not our coach. And when he's our coach, we are going to fully support him. We've built the list around him for the now. We feel like we're in a really good position. Our best footy is good enough. He's our coach. We rate him extremely highly until he's not our coach. And then I'll answer your questions about Josh Carr later than that. The last thing they needed was any sort of distraction about Ken Hinkley walking away in a couple of years' time and Josh Carr coaching. It's just a frustration of mine. And have they not looked at other succession plans that don't work? Hawthorn, Mitchell Clarkson, Collingwood, Buckley Malthouse. I mean, you can go to Longmire at Sydney and Paul Roos has done it a couple of times, but largely they don't work. Did we get to number 10, Hoyne?
Number 9, Caleb Sarong. No surprise there. Third most impact through his ball-winning ability. 76 in the comp last year, so significant improvement so far for Caleb. And then rounding out the top 10 is Matty Rao. So no one has impact more with ball-winning ability than what Matty Rao has done so far. 91st last year.
So a great start to the year.
Up to the top 10. So, Yeah, so that's the top 10 for
top 10's in.
4 weeks in. So we will revisit that. There's a fair few texts coming through around where is Libba. I think there might be a little bit of recency bias into that. Libba's performance against Geelong was one of the best performances we've seen this year. To start the year, he is going well, but he's just not in that top 10 yet. If he keeps performing like he did on the weekend.
Not much love for the key defenders, Hoyne?
He'll be in there. No, not much love yet. No, not much love yet. We get we do get asked about that a fair bit. No. So I reckon that Tom. Can I just ask just something around that? And I think the Libba example here is a classic example. I just wonder whether or not, when you play a blinder on a Friday night or a blinder on a Saturday night, when the audience is at its peak.
Being on the ground or off the ground?
Both, but more so on the ground.
I played in a different era.
So like a Tom Stewart, for instance, his performance against Adelaide was off the charts, unbelievable. And he's going well, don't get me wrong, but his other performances have been good, but they haven't been to that level.
Yep.
But because it was a Friday night, you remember it. Libba against Geelong, and it's and because it's only 7 days ago, his performance was extraordinary, unbelievable. But against Gold Coast, he was good, but he wasn't to that level. Against Melbourne, he was good, but he wasn't to that level. But if it's centre stage, and I think this is what
the Friday night
I think
factor.
that's and I think that's why it took the competition and the industry such a long time to get their head around GWS and how powerful they were last year until it was finals time, where you're seeing them front of stage and you go, geez, how good's this mob? Well, when they're playing Sunday 110 or Sunday Twilight or Saturday 210, those I think those performances can get lost both at an individual and team sense. So just something I've always thought has been the case. And
nice little Hoyne's hurricane there, Gerard. I liked it. Just a little Hoyne's hurricane.
That's right up your alley there, Gerard.
little drive-by.
I liked it. I really liked it. Let's launch into your 7 main talking points. Speaking of off-Broadway, we'll start with Gold Coast.
Yeah, so clearly there's a lot of talk going on about Gold Coast at the moment and how and how good their performance was against GWS and just the excitement levels that are building around Gold Coast, probably that we haven't really seen from the Suns before. And I just wanted to get into a little bit as to why that's actually the case. So myself and Kingy came up with this thing called the Core 4 years ago, and we thought, we're going to measure, four key elements of the game: what you do with the footy, which takes into a few, sort of aspects. What you do without the footy, your clearance game in terms of just your scoreboard return from clearance, and then what you do in the contest game outside of clearance. And the most important element of the game over the last 3 years, and I think it will be the same again this year, is what you do without the footy. So in terms of who's ranked number one over the 3 years that we've done it, Melbourne last year, and that got them all the way to a semi-final and for various reasons didn't get them beyond. Geelong in 2022 won the flag, ranked number one without the footy, and the D's in 2021 ranked number one without the footy and won the flag. 4 weeks in, we've got a long way to go, clearly got a long way to go, but Gold Coast so far are number one in terms of what they're doing without the footy. That is an unbelievable start, and I'll get into another club that's doing the complete opposite. That is an unbelievable start. So right now, when the opposition win the ball, there is no harder team to score against and convert that possession into a score. There's no team that wins the ball back off the opposition in the midfield zone more than what Gold Coast do. And there's no team in the competition that's harder to score against when you get it inside 50. And in terms of how they defend their ball movement game, they're the 5th best team in the competition. So in terms of what they're doing with the footy, I think that's going to come. That's going to take a little while. At the moment, they're 18th in terms of what they're doing in terms of being able to move the ball from one end of the ground to the other. I think that will
That's
come.
why they ended up trying to put 2 kickers behind the ball.
Yeah, and
in Flanders and in Lukosius.
Yeah, he's 4 games in to establishing this new system and establishing this new brand, if you like. But we've talked about on this show, you have to have the elite interceptors behind the ball that cause a bit of chaos to the opposition. And they have that. I mean, Mac Andrew, you did that game on Sunday, G. I mean, he was fantastic, sort of taken top 5, top 6 in the draft for a reason, for that exact reason. Sam Collins has done it for a long time. Charlie Ballard has done it for a long time, and Will Powell plays that role beautifully. So I think if they can establish a couple of those sort of elite, aggressive, small defenders, if you like, and potentially Sam Flanders is being trialled in that, in that position at the moment, and maybe a few others, I think that ball movement game would come. But in terms of what they're doing without the footy, that's absolutely a huge tick. And I think the other tick is as well is that he's not he's not protecting this back, sort of six, back seven, if you like. So they've been isolated in one-on-one contests, the sixth most of any team in the competition. They're not getting protected necessarily, by others rolling back and actually making sure that they're not isolated. But when they have been isolated, they are the second hardest team to beat in a one-on-one. It's a great defensive profile to start the season, albeit only 4 games in. But you have played against some reasonable opposition in the Dogs and GWS in particular. So just wanted to put that on the radar as to why there's a bit of excitement.
So who was your disappointment in that area without the ball?
Without the footy?
Yeah.
Well, North Melbourne, and I'll get into North shortly. North Melbourne at the moment and West Coast, so there's probably no surprise. Essendon hasn't changed in terms of what they're doing, and Richmond at the moment. So North, West Coast, Essendon. We're bottom 3 last year without the footy. 4 weeks in, they're again bottom 3 without the footy.
I just want to derail your little 7 main talking points because as you were talking about Essendon, it reminded me of all the broken tackles that I thought I saw. Can you clarify the broken tackle stat? I think it's a new stat with Champion Data, and it's been widely publicised because of Harley Reid and how many tackles he's broken as a young player. Have you got a definition of a broken tackle? Because the number seems low to me as I'm looking at them.
Yeah, so you have to have... Yeah, so the player with ball in hand has to have had ball in hand for quite a while. It's not just win the footy, shrug a tackle, and then you're away. You have to have possession of the ball for a reasonable amount of time to be able to allay, to be able to break that tackle as well. So there's the 2 components that we're looking at. We're looking at the broken tackle and then the actual player who actually broke that tackle. So we're looking at Harley Reid, and then we're looking at, okay, did you actually miss that tackle? Did you miss that tackle on Harley Reid? And what's deemed to be reasonable to actually look at the actual opponent and go, no, you should have laid that tackle because you had plenty of time to be able to wrap your hands around him.
So it goes down as a missed tackle to say the player that missed it, and then he gets a broken tackle. And you were saying to me, because I sent you a text about it, that the average per team is 7. So 7 broken tackles.
They're low numbers.
They're low, aren't they? Yeah.
So don't argues don't count.
They're really no, they count because you've had plenty of time to be able to lay an effective tackle on them. So it's a dual stat, if you like. So we're going to be looking at it 2 ways, and that's why sort of being able to balance up what's fair and what's not. It is the challenge, and hence why the numbers are actually quite low.
Speaking of broken tackles, Gerard, your second main point is Dustin Martin.
Yeah, just a little one. Don't want to get too big on Dusty, but just watching him on the weekends, I've sort of, been sort of feeling like in the games that he's played so far this year, that he gets off to a cracking start, if you like, and then sort of the game just tends to fade away, if you like. And I think that sort of happened again on the weekend against St Kilda. Half time he's had almost 20 to 21 disposals, if you like. So it just got me just thinking about his breakdown so far this year in the games that he's played. So in first quarters this year, he's had a total of 25 disposals, then 19 in second, 11 in quarter 3, and only 7 in final quarters.
Are they moving him forward in the final quarter, so he's going to get less possession?
So there was a bit of talk pre-season that he was going to play more midfield minutes. We haven't really sort of seen that so far this year. So in terms of his breakdown, he's played 234 minutes as a forward and 57 minutes as a midfielder so far this year. His game time does get reduced quite significantly in last quarter. So I just wonder whether or not they're just sort of looking after him a little bit in fourth quarters, or there's actually more of a reason to that. He's actually won a little bit more ball behind centre than what we've actually seen of Dusty over the last couple of years, despite still playing as that forward for the majority of time. But just something just to just keep an eye on that sort of just really just sort of piqued my interest watching him again against St Kilda, and he's done it so far in his 3 games this year.
First half Dusty, second half Rusty. They need to spray to sort that out.
I like it. The Dockers have stayed in Adelaide. Of course, they take on Port Adelaide on Saturday night. What do you make of their season?
Tough to actually work out, I reckon, where Fremantle sit in this competition. I think at the moment, which is a credit to Justin Longmuir, that they're hard to play against at the moment. So I think that's going to keep them in the contest and keep them in the competition for a large part of this season. But in terms of what's sustainable and what's not, I mean, we're here to sort of look at the big picture and not just analyse around for performance and sort of, sort of get carried away. We're trying to assess where you sit amongst the competition and what's going to happen towards the end of the, sort of towards the end of the season. And, you look at the best teams in the competition and the ball moves. The ball moves up and down the ground. The ball goes inside 50. The ball goes in their opposition inside 50. And there's a willingness to actually get involved in that transition game and in that ball movement game because, sort of come a September final series, the reality just to be able to keep it locked down and tight and stagnant and just, without any ball movement in the game is going to be rare across 120 minutes over a 3 or 4 game final series, if you like. So just to put that into context, Fremantle's matches this year, there's 99 inside 50s per game in their match. No one is involved in fewer entries than what Fremantle are in the competition. Compare that to Geelong, GWS and Sydney. They're around the 115 sort of entries. GWS's game on the weekend, they had 69 themselves and Gold Coast had 55.
Yep.
Geelong against Adelaide gave up 66 and had 55 themselves. They gave up 60 against Hawthorn, had 53, 54 themselves. They're happy to get involved in that game and just back their defence, if you like. The ball is stagnant against Freo. It just lives in the midfield area because Fremantle at the moment are bottom 5 in their ball movement game, and the opposition are bottom 5 in terms of being able to move the ball against Freo. So it's hard to move, and it's hard
watch.
It's a hard watch. I don't know if you enjoyed watching that game, Kane or G, against Carlton. It was a hard watch. It was a slog. The Adelaide game the week before, that was a slog as well. So I think, hats off to them in terms of being competitive and making it hard to play against. But I think that's only going to get you so far in this. You have to release it. You have to get involved in this transition game. We keep talking about how important that turnover game is, and the ability for to be able to execute that phase of the game is going to determine success more often than not. I think Fremantle, that's still the watch for me. Can they actually release the shackles and get involved in a high territory game? Because that's what Port Adelaide are going to bring on Saturday night. They're going to bring high territory numbers. They want to get involved in that game. What's going to happen there is going to be interesting.
Who wins that one?
I think Port at the moment. But I'm just really interested to see, coming up against such an aggressive team, what Fremantle can do. Can they actually stifle Port? And if not, maybe that's going to be the trigger to potentially release this just a little bit more.
If you're Willem Drew, who would you be going to?
I'm going to Sarong.
Yeah,
I'm going straight to Sarong.
So as notice, Brayshaw got the 8 or 10 coaches' votes on the weekend.
Ninth best player in the comp, Sarong, going straight to him.
Okay.
Tribunal is now deliberating over the Cozzy pickets. They've been deliberating for about 10 minutes now. So as that comes to hand, we will keep you updated, but he's not getting off. I can tell you that much. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. Hoyne, guess who? What's your clue?
So the clue is this is a team-related guess who tonight. So which team so far this year has taken the hardest shots at goal in the competition?
Which team has taken the hardest shots at goal in the competition? You've got a 1 in 18 chance. Gerard, did you have a guess at who's taken the most difficult shots?
I went the Pies.
Hoyne, is it the Pies?
No, not the Pies. Not a bad guess though, G.
Is it? I just remembered Geelong kicking goals from the boundary last Monday. Is it the Cats?
We've got a lot of Cats coming through on the text machine as well, but it's not Geelong. So the reason why I wanted to raise this is just to have a bit of a deeper discussion. So the team that's taken the hardest shots at goal so far this year, and by a fair way, is Melbourne. So the difference this year is that they're actually taking their chances as opposed to the final series and the midway point of last year in that 5, 6, 7, 8 game period where they actually weren't taking their chances and everyone's criticising that.
Hoyne, I reckon we had this similar discussion at this time last year.
Identical.
The accuracy was brilliant early.
Identical.
And we were pumping up my man Mark Williams. And then it fell apart.
The old expected score.
Well, so this is exactly why I wanted to bring it up, Kane. So if we just go back to their first 5 matches of 2023 compared to their first 5 matches of 2024, they've actually had fewer shots at goal this year. But no one is talking about this forward 50, and people are actually lauding what this forward 50 is actually doing. So they've had fewer shots at goal, but they're kicking almost 10% above expectation, which is exactly what they were doing 5 games into their campaign of 2023, where no one's actually speaking about it. So and the reason why I wanted to bring it up is that I think that they're going well, Melbourne, but they have significant improvement in their game. So accuracy is getting them by. Got them by against Port Adelaide on the week 2 weeks ago. I think that game against Adelaide on the weekend could have been a lot closer as well if Adelaide had taken their chances, but if Melbourne had have actually kicked, a little bit more
What
to
areas
expectation.
do they need to improve?
So their ball movement game at the moment. So that's what everyone kept talking to me about, over the off-season. I want to see Melbourne, be more aggressive and take it with ball in hand and improve what they do with
Angry
ball
from
in hand.
Armadale's very big on that.
Yeah, they were bottom 4, bottom 5 last year in their ball movement game. It's only improved to be the 11th best ball movement game in the competition. So it's not flying. But what they're doing defensively is they're actually giving you a look more this year than what they have probably over the last 3 years, and albeit we're only 5 games in. So in terms of how they're defending ball movement, they are the 6th easiest team in the competition to actually move the ball against. Port Adelaide were able to do that exceptionally well 2 weeks ago. Going to be interesting to see how that comes up against Brisbane on Thursday night, who are one of the best ball movement teams
Sydney
in the competition.
beat them with ball movement in round 1.
Sydney just beat them in terms of just being able to lock it in their forward half and being able to score off the back of that through clearance and contested possession dominance, if you like, in the second half. But they have, so there's just a little bit on watch at the moment. I mean, I think we're all probably impressed in terms of what Melbourne have been able to do given the off season that they had and the struggles off season, and probably the unknown of what that was actually going to do to this group and whether or not that was going to see them plummet or could they actually hold it. And the fact that they've got to 4-1, they've won 2 of their 3 interstate games, they've beaten the Dogs as well. Big tick in terms of what they've done. But again, we're not here to celebrate performance in terms of what you're doing just at round 4 or 5. We're looking to the bigger picture. And I think internally they'll be looking at going, well, we're 4-1 with significant improvement in our game. We're not holding up as well in our D50 as what we have over the last couple of years. We're not defending ball movement as well as we have the last couple of years. Our contest game in general play, which has been their bread and butter, is the 7th worst in the competition at the moment. So if you're a Melbourne supporter listening to that, and thinking, okay, geez, there's significant improvement in our game, but we're 4-1. That's the most important element to what you're actually doing, and you're 4-1 off the back of what you're doing with the footy as opposed to what you're doing without and what you're doing from a contest perspective.
There you go. Good insight there. Let's continue your 7 main talking points. And North Melbourne, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, it is. So so we started this tonight talking about Gold Coast and what they've been able to do with what was indeed, actually a younger team on paper than what North Melbourne put out on the weekend. They were the 3rd youngest team on the weekend, North Melbourne, and we talk about Gold Coast and what they're doing without the footy, being number 1 without the footy. North Melbourne are 18th in terms of what they're doing without the footy. And I just want to have more of a broader discussion in terms of the way that they're trying to play. It's great that you're able to sit down and see a clear brand and a clear style, if you like. But is it the right thing to do with this group that's so young? And is it the right way for development? I mean, we've seen so many teams with this age profile start in terms of what they're doing without the footy. We're going to focus in on that. Think back to Melbourne when Paul Roos and Simon Goodwin took over. We're going to start with that. Think about, Carlton when Brendan Bolton arrived there. We're going to start with that. Think about, Brisbane, and all Fags wanted to do in his first couple of years is just reduce the points against, column to get us to be competitive, and then things will flow off the back of that. We're not seeing that so far with North Melbourne. Their defensive profile is actually getting worse. There's no team easier to turn possession into a score against. They're the 2nd easiest team to move the ball against. They've got the 2nd worst D50 in the competition. And in terms of when they turn the ball over, and this is the aspect that's of grave concern to me at the moment, they want to play this aggressive game, but when they turn the ball over, they are the easiest team to punish on turnover that we've seen after 4 games in 8 years. We haven't seen an easier team to score against off turnover in 8 years. So do they rein it in, or is this just what they believe in? This is what they're wedded to, and this is how they're going to, going to continue throughout the rest of the season. I'm just curious as to what you guys think is the right method and the right process for North, because just at the moment it just seems just a little bit out of whack.
It's hard, isn't it, Gerard? Because
it's tough. Because if I'm a North supporter, I like what I'm seeing. Because I remember Robert Wall saying when he was coaching the Bears, at least our people went away and we kicked a few goals. but ultimately, if you can't defend, you can't win flags. So it's something that Clarko is going to have to address.
But they only kicked 42 points on the weekend, so they're not. On the weekend, it was rough, and I guess they're all in on it. Hoyne, that's the hardest part. So when you turn up for day one of preseason, the coaches go about their preseason and they tell you the way they're going to implement the game plan and what are the key aspects of the game plan. Then you go out and train it for a few months, and then you go and play it for a couple of games. And we saw with a bit of success in the preseason, and the players have got a gleam in their eye saying, we're playing North ball and everyone's right behind it. But then what happens is the opposition scout it. And we spoke to Josh Dunkley on breakfast on Monday, and he just said, look, if we put pressure on them, we knew they were going to be extremely vulnerable because you turn it over and you're kicking it to their back six, which is undersized. And he put it lightly, but I won't. It's about as bad a back six as we've seen in the last 20 years. So he's failing to protect the back six, which is vulnerable. But now to unwind that, is going to be difficult for them to do. So it's going to take little tweaks, and they'll have to do that throughout the season. But I don't think they can completely back away from it. It's too hard to do mid-season.
Yeah, agree with that. But it's just I think this might sound harsh. It might actually get worse as well, because at the moment, you talk about offensively and going to the footy to see goals and what have you. They've been, probably their scoreboard return has been a little bit inflated through ridiculous accuracy as well. So we're talking about what they're doing without the footy. In terms of what they're doing with the ball, when they win the ball, there's no worse team in the competition at turning possession into a score themselves. So, you think back to the GWS game, you think back to the Carlton game, they were ridiculously, accurate, if you like. So I just
so it's a hole that's actually potentially getting deeper.
Yeah,
I think it's really, for me, if I was a North fan, what's really important is when you come up against teams that you see as similar to you in the competition, or maybe just a tad above, they're the ones you have to put in phenomenal performance. So in Geelong, no one's expecting much this week, are we? Like, let's be realistic. We're not expecting much at all. In fact, Geelong probably got every right to rest 4 or 5. I would if I was Chris Scott with the demographic of their list. But the following week, it's Hawthorn and then it's Adelaide and Tassie. So they're the two I'm circling. Going, we can get Adelaide. With the
they got them there last year.
With the way that they're playing, and we have to get Hawthorn, and then when we play Essendon, these are the games that you got. And then we got Fremantle, West Coast after the bye, so they're the ones. There's 4 or 5 on the fixture where you circle. We got to get these, because if we don't get these, it's going to get really ugly when you're playing against comparable teams, and that's probably all you can sort of hang your hat on this year until this midfield group comes together, until they can support them with a solid defensive unit that they don't have.
But the irony is the player they could least afford to lose, they lost in Ben Mackay. He's had a reasonably good season at Essendon.
Yep.
Yeah, he has. But, I mean, yeah.
It's more than one player.
Yeah, I
agree.
agree. I think it's more how they're playing as a collective. I mean, I like what Charlie Comben did on the weekend. I thought he showed some really good signs. But it's more the collective and the approach and the system that you're trying to implement, more than the absolute individual at the moment.
All right. Cozzy Pickett's ban has been upheld. He'll miss next week's game against Brisbane. No surprises.
Is that a chuckle I heard coming from Queensland? That's Hodgie.
No surprises there. Sydney, Hoyne?
Yeah, I think that the bye for the Swans is actually come at a good time.
Absolutely.
Um,
I think just going, the Swans.
Yeah, I think absolutely only just going. So there's a couple of red flags in terms of what they're doing. With the footy at the moment, they're the 4th best team in the competition. So and they look great, don't get me wrong. But again, we keep coming back to what you do without the footy being first and foremost. They're 14th in terms of what they're doing without the footy, which might come as a surprise. Their D50 at the moment is the 8th worst D50 in the competition, which is not going to get the job done for for you come sort of that September campaign. And in terms of when their opposition win the ball against Sydney at the moment, they are the 6th easiest team to score against. The concern at the moment, just a couple of concerns further to that, is that it's not just coming from one aspect of the game. So again, we keep talking about the turnover game and how important it is. They're the 5th easiest team to score against when Sydney actually do turn the ball over. No Premier is getting that done with that profile. And their clearance game, they're the 7th easiest team to score against when the opposition win a clearance. So from both sides of the footy in terms of the turnover and clearance aspect, they've got issues. And I know that there's a lot of talk that gets sort of put down the Hipwood and Danaher bracket as well. I'm just putting Amadi and Hayden McLean on watch at the moment. So they're their two lowest performing players so far through the first 5 games for the Swans, and Haywood is not too far behind them as well. So there's a couple
man.
I just want to put on watch, just in terms of ahead of the ball, and then behind the ball, Rampy and Malikan are also struggling a little bit behind the footy as well. So there's a couple. I think they're getting by at the moment on what Heaney is doing, which is just freakish. Goulden's going extremely well. Warner's going well as well. So there's a couple of stars in the midfield group that are getting it done. Just both ends of the ground. There's a bit of a watch, and I reckon the bye has come at a perfect time for the Swans.
I'm glad you raised Will Hayward, because, Kane, you believe he's an outstanding player. But
do.
In what role do you see him as outstanding?
I just think they're hard to find. Medium to small forward to bring elite pressure, can mark it above their head and can damage you on the scoreboard are hard to find. I think his defensive stuff's excellent. And I think he's tough and courageous and plays a team-first role. And those types of players, the Neil Bullen types, are hard to find. That's
how does he rate up against Neil Bullen as far as his rating?
Oh, no, Neil Bullen's got him covered, and covered quite comfortably at the moment. Yeah, so no, Neil Bullen's flying at the moment. But, so no, I just wanted to put the Swans just on watch at the moment. Bye's come at a good time.
A quick word on the Dogs, Hoyne?
Yeah, so then the complete opposite for the Dogs. Just want to put a green flag on the Dogs. I think they just got beaten by a very good team on the weekend.
But you like what you saw?
Yeah, they're doing a lot right. So, again, we're talking big picture at the moment. In terms of what they're doing from their ball movement game, there's no one that's moving the ball better at the moment. They do it differently. They do it through their boundary use. They're protecting their back half better than anyone else in the competition. Their defensive profile in terms of how hard they are to actually score against on turnover is in the top half of the competition, and their ability to be able to convert their own turnovers is top 6 in the competition. They just need to be able to capitalise more on this clearance dominance. But in terms of their profile at the moment, what we're seeing with the Dogs, 2-2, I think you're going better than what that win-loss record actually suggests. So I would expect a pretty strong performance on Friday night for the Dogs with that profile.
Love from the Dogs fans.